Yo, and what is good, y'all? How y'all doing today? We're gonna go straight into the review. I'm not gonna do any of that intro stuff, but basically today was, this week was. I'm not gonna lie, like it was pretty, or I feel like I was able to read it pretty well, but I don't care to be right or wrong, but I felt like if you go back in the reviews, like everything I said that I want to see happen kind of happened. And today or this week was sorry, I used to saying today, but this week we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of accumulation higher, and then you have that Thursday manipulation. But where are we manipulating to? Where is price manipulating to? If you look at this, like you normally, I would never really pay attention to this level on my chart, but this is actually the last week new week opening gap. This is the last new week opening gap. And like honestly, when I saw this on my chart, my jaw dropped. My jaw dropped. But basically, we manipulated straight into that new week opening gap, and then price expands after that. It expands out of that. If we look at ES as well, where's ES manipulate into? Into this gap. We pretty much fill in the like almost all of this, and then we end up coming back up. And where does price put in the high day? Where does the algo put in the high day? Not some random level. Right at that new week opening gap high. Right up to that new week opening gap high. And this could be a little bit confusing, but these two lines here, or I should probably have had this cleared out. But this and this, that's that new week opening gap, and then this and this is a new day opening gap. That's this gap here. But basically, let's go into the delivery of today. So I wasn't sold on being full on bearish, but if we pull up the daily chart, at least on ES, we now have had a change in state delivery to the downside on the daily chart. But I wasn't sold that we were gonna go lower. On ES, we were just repricing lower to this inefficiency. If I pull up YM as well, YM was wasn't doing anything today, and it was like we sold off today, but it was or no, yeah, we just consolidated the whole day. And I pull up YM. The reason why I thought that we were likely, I think that we were just repricing this imbalance, and I think that we were gonna fulfill this fair value gap today. So I thought another expansion lower was gonna be more unlikely. I mean, it still can happen, but it's just more unlikely. I was expecting some form of consolidation, some form of wick on that weekly candle, and that's exactly what ended up happening. We form a wick. And let's pull up ES. ES comes to that gap. Then we get a change state delivery here. Or change state delivery here, sorry. And then we end up exploding up where to? New week opening gap. And weeks when we're consolidating to where we know that we're likely not going to really do anything. And I was talking about this Monday. But weeks, and I'll have to backtest a little bit more, but notice how we came back up and notice how many times we use this new week opening gap. This is consolidation. We're pretty much closed exactly where we opened on the week. Like we didn't really do nothing. We offered buy side, we offered sell side, and then we just offered fair value here again. So how we open up on the next week or how we approach next week is going to be very, very. I know I'm already talking about bias, but just by the looks of this, we're now come in an area where we're offering fair value here. If we displace or if we open up and trade like this, I would expect higher prices. If we trade lower, I'm expecting lower prices to happen because we look at ES. We've now had a change state delivery on the daily. Come back in area fair value, and we could head lower, but I think personally it might be a little bit more higher probability that we head higher. I also had these standard deviation levels mapped out for us to possibly head into. We're in those areas. It's just that last manipulation leg here, then it's that first retracement leg. So that's what those levels are. And that's how I have those levels on my chart. So this could be a high confidence area to where we do reject in the upcoming weeks. But let's talk about Friday, or let's talk about today's delivery before we really go on too hard. And basically, we come back down right in that new week opening gap. Look at even this time frame is supporting that idea. And this was as classic of a buy day as it gets. You have Asia consolidation, London manipulates also into a meaningful level, into that daily order block. That daily order block open. We've been respecting this order block open for the whole entire week. And notice how we come back down. Where are we going to? New week opening gap. The wick does the damage. The wick does the damage. And then we consolidate in Asia. Then we put a London lower day on that daily order block. And then once we get this change in state delivery here, I know I'm talking about change in state delivery a lot, but it's how I like using it. And then we end up coming back down. We don't trade back into this fair value gap. Because we don't need to. We don't need to. Order block gets respected. Then we get displacement higher. I think that today's delivery wasn't like the most practical for entry wise. Because we look at YM. YM was showing hints to like it probably wasn't going to be the cleanest action. Just based off of like YM. YM was crazy diverge. So we know it's a Friday. We're likely not going to get these insane trades. So we got to be more of a scalper on a day like today. So we come back down. And that's that hourly order block I have marked down here. We're still respecting bullish candles. We come back into this fair value gap. This gets used again. We use this, draw that out in time. Look where price is respecting. Price is respecting these levels. And then we get another change of state delivery. On the 15-minute, we have a breakaway gap that never gets traded into. This becomes a actually institutional order flow entry drill. And why do you think that we barely come to that fair value gap that hit higher? Because this is all balanced on the 5-minute. This is all balanced on the 5-minute. Why don't we need to trade back down in that this fair value gap? We don't need to trade back down into this fair value gap because this is a balanced price range. So both sell side has been offered, and then now both buy side has been offered. So the goal of the market is to offer fair value in the market, is to give both sellers and buyers a fair chance at every single price. So I've offered sell side with these down close candles here. Then we have now displaced higher. This is buy side. Where does the market come back down to? The area where we last provided sell side. So that's an area of fair value. So the market doesn't need to head into this gap because we're just offering fair value. We're offering sellers a chance to get in now. And that's why we don't really need to trade it back in that gap. We also might have a SMT fair value gap. Yeah, look. Yeah, good for bringing that up. SMT fair value gap is when ES trades into it and NQ doesn't. So you also have that divergence here, which I didn't even notice until you said something. But yeah, that's the main reason why price doesn't need to go in there. And that's very bullish. That's very bullish. That's very bullish. The fact that we had SMT fair value gap, I didn't even see that. SMT fair value gap at a key level when we already are reacting off of 2 key levels. Then we end up exploding the upside. Price heads higher. We have institutional order flow entry drill here. And where is price reaching for? I think it's easy. The draw on liquidity isn't as clear for me. But I have this volume imbalance. There's this volume imbalance from yesterday. They end up trading right into. And I think it's a little bit better on ES. ES, the high day gets formed right at the new week opening gap. Exactly where price gets heads into. In terms of trading this, I do think it was a little bit trickier. It wasn't as clear. Like the trade entries weren't as prominent. The thing I would have likely looked to take this fair value gap, but I don't have like a clear buy side to target. You kind of have these highs up here you could target. You also have probably inefficiencies you could target. But we end up having silver bullet, AM silver bullet right there. Price expands higher. Same thing, change state delivery, you would come back down. Why doesn't this all need to be fulfilled? Because we're offering fair value, change state delivery, and then price ends up going higher. And notice, originally, right above this fair value gap, we put in a high. The market is not going to top here, especially right above that volume imbalance. We have unfinished business. We are generating liquidity on our way lower. Notice where price is inducing back into 15-minute fair value gap with SMT. That's a very nice model. You have your SMT with the S. You get displacement, change of state delivery, order block. Notice how well this order block with the volume imbalance. This is also another gem that I've kind of learned. I don't really like. It's just something in mind, but anytime there's a volume imbalance with an order block, that's likely the order block that will get referred back to. Notice how we don't react off of this order block the way that we do this order block or this order block. It's this order block because it has that volume imbalance. And look at the bodies. Look at the bodies very well respecting that volume imbalance with the order block. Displacement higher, that's another good trade. After another change of state delivery, after another order block gets traded back into. So days when it's a little bit choppier, order blocks are going to be used a lot more, which is a day like today. And then price heads up, buy side taken. All of this is just generating liquidity. All of this is generating liquidity. And notice the time when this move happens. It happens at 1:30 to that 2 o'clock hour. All this, that's that lunch hour. Lunch hour, we're running on stops. We're generating liquidity. You don't really necessarily want to be trading this, but then once the time clears up, it all happens at a certain time of day, 1:30 to 2. And then what does 2 o'clock hour start? We hit that draw liquidity. Then we get displacement lower. This is the formation of this wick. This is the formation of the wick. And I want to do some. I thought it was. I backtested earlier, or I went over the action earlier, and I want to see. I want to see where 20 and 30% is. This because TJIF, if you don't know, it's pretty much capping off the weekly range, where it's when we put in a high on the weekly candle, and then we're expecting a close back within 20 to 30% of that range. And as we see, we close well beyond that. That's kind of where we retest these highs again at 20 to 30%. All right. And then now, if we look back into the PM session, or this end of the day macro, I think that there was a nice shorting opportunity on ES. I'm not really gonna look to trade this, but it's like all what we see in the charts. We end up forming SMT at these highs, reacting nicely off that new week opening gap. Trade back into this 5-minute fair value gap. This is the 2022 model, buy side, market structure shift, fair value gap. And where does price head to exactly? We head back to this order block, because what else is this? Like I was saying earlier, this is an area of fair value. This is an area of fair value. Same exact thing. As you see, buy side's offered here. Well, originally sell side's offered here, and then we offer buy side. Sorry, I should have this in a green. I don't think it's too complicated. It's pretty simple concept. But then buy side's offered here. So what are we gonna do? The market's going to look to offer fair value to give sellers a chance to get in. Sorry, I'm doing too much right now. Let me that's green, and then let me pull up red again. So the market's going to reprice lower. That's what we do with out here. And that's pretty much why order blocks work. And then where are we going to? This level of fair value. Buyers and sellers both got a chance in the market, and that's what the market does. When you start to trade again, I don't know. It's likely going to be a minute, but I'm taking my time with it because I really think that, I mean, you really lose nothing by just backtesting and reading price, and you really lose nothing. What are macros, or what macro is a certain time? It's a short delivery of. I recommend watching an ICT video on it. He definitely explains it a lot better, and I don't claim to explain it better than him, but it's a time of the day to when we're likely going to spool towards either liquidity or imbalance. They happen 9:50 to 10:10. There's one at 10:50. There's one every single hour. but the main ones to study are 950, 1010, and then 1050 to 1110 are usually the main ones I look for. And also the end of day macro is 315 to 345. And then yeah, that was pretty much today's delivery. I thought that there was a nice short here. There was a very or I wouldn't really look to take this, but we end up offering fair value here. I liked the long here. I think the best trade of the day was this long here, back up to these highs on NQ. And then obviously if you caught a long here, I think that would have been decent. I want to check Bitcoin real quick. This is a little bit off topic, but recently I've been talking about Bitcoin, and I'm anticipating silver bullets of this to occur. Silver bullet of this of Bitcoin to occur, and this is Bitcoin. I wouldn't recommend it, but in terms of price, this is exactly what I was anticipating, and I'm expecting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to honestly complete this model. It all depends. I never trade crypto, but I'm expecting at least next week for this model to finish. I'm anticipating the market to trade up. Look at the reaction. Look at the wicks here. That mitigation. You have that order block as well. You have this fair value gap. You have this inverse fair value gap. This is such a high confluence area to where I'm definitely anticipating a run on these highs. A lot, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm expecting this to be quick, sharp, straight to the point. Maybe not offer in a lot of. Let's zoom in as well. I haven't really been analyzing this. Yeah, now we have that market structure shift. Now we have that change of state delivery here. So I'm looking for this to possibly get respected, this order block. I'm really looking for that. Yeah, let's see what happens on Bitcoin. Obviously, I don't trade crypto. I never do. I never touch crypto, so it's just something to study. It's just something that's happening current time. It's just something to be looking out for, anticipating. I've been looking at this ever since here. I thought it was pretty clean. Can you talk a little bit about how you make a daily bias? For me personally, I'm looking at, like, I'm in the market. I always look at these kill zones, and I'm looking for, the first thing I'm looking at is what are we doing in Asia and London. Normally London will put in the high or low of the day, like today, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm also looking to see what higher time frame PD rays are we reacting off of. This today was very. I mean, I did not have this on my chart until I looked over price action today. I did not have this new week opening gap, but like, you can not tell me that this is not random. Straight to that new week opening gap, and then that order block gets traded right into during London. We manipulate in London, and then we distribute. So I'm looking at, like, what is Asia London doing, and then what's the weekly candle likely to do? I look for, like, daily profiles, and I think AM Trades is the one that's kind of like originated all this. You can look at him. If you also look up Afiz on YouTube, if you look at his protraction profile video, I think that video is pretty good. But basically, this is your Judah swing profile, and then I've been looking more into time recently, and like certain times you're gonna expect certain things. Like this expansion in the market, we wouldn't expect this to happen other than 10 o'clock. That's when it happens. There's kind of a lot to it, but mainly I'm looking at what Asia and London are doing, and then possible PM session highs and lows, and possible AM session highs and lows. It's kind of blending everything together, you know. All right, and then I want to go over like what we did throughout this whole week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was accumulation higher. I was talking about this in the previous videos. I was saying, hey, we're forming now like a 3 drives pattern. This is happening. This now becomes high resistance liquidity, We're now forming high resistance liquidity at the highs. So what is that at the lows? We have low resistance liquidity. Market comes back down. We create a Judas swing straight into these lows. Where also new week opening got perfectly also back in that daily order block. And then we end up creating a run higher. Notice how we also fill this inefficiency here. And then price runs higher. So that's kind of like what the week really did. If you look on ES as well, we were accumulating first 3 days. Then we have that manipulation and then distribution. And then now we're coming back up into that new week opening gap. This week was a consolidation. We just consolidated on the weekly candle. That's what we did. And now we have put in a very small imbalance here. So I think just the way that this weekly candle closed on ES, I'm gonna remove these. I don't really need these. We also have that kind of like confluence of the standard deviation lining up. I think that the way this weekly candle, the fact that we didn't displace through this high, I think that we're likely to probably trade back lower here within the range and then go higher. I mean, it all solely depends on what we do. I want to see how we open up on Sunday because, like, we truly don't know what will happen on Sunday. We also have this fair value gap. I think that we're going to reprice lower, head back to that weekly fair value gap to then head higher. I really want to see this get filled. We've now gone from external range to now looking for possible internal range. But keep in mind, we have been all-time highs. We do, however, have change in state delivery here on the daily. We're coming back up into this order block range. I think we're likely to expand lower throughout the next week. It all depends on what the overnight session does as well. That'll help me game plan and strategize. Let's look on NQ as well. NQ is telling a little different story, which is why I'm a little bit hesitant per se, because NQ has displaced through this high. We have created this fair value gap within the market. This kind of is a big gap. This is shows you large expansion within the market. When is the last time we really have had a weekly fair value gap that's been that prominent? Back here, January, and look what ended up happening. We come back down, trade, and then we expand. But also look at this candle here. I think on NQ it looks like we do want to expand higher. I think I'm getting like mixed things here on ES and NQ, so therefore I need to see a lot more for me to really stick to one side. And like I'm weighing out both sides. Let's pull up the Dow. The Dow has not traded up into these all-time highs. We've now had very bearish delivery on this week. We are trading within this fair value gap here, where's probably a better level. Consequent encroachment of this. Could probably, yeah, we're now at consequent encroachment of this gap. So I want to see how we react off this gap in the upcoming week. We also have this. I'm not gonna mark that out on my chart. We'll see what happens here. Like nothing set in stone. Nothing looks insanely obvious. If we're looking at YM though, we've now created a bearish fair value gap here. So I think this will definitely get traded back up into, and then we could use this as resistance to then head lower. If I'm looking at the chart, where could we possibly rebalance? I'm looking at this imbalance here. Overall, YM looks pretty bearish. YM looks pretty bearish. Well, this is now could be qualified as a market structure shift. We come back up. We've now created a fair value gap. I want to see this get traded back into to then possibly displace lower if that's what we are going to do. Let's look at dollar. I haven't really been paying attention to dollar because I think that dollar has also been a little bit tricky as well. Dollar has been, like I said, keying off at two imbalance, keying off at different PD rays. So if we're looking at dollar overall, we were in this likely market maker model, but I'm not so convinced. Like, I do think this is the original consolidation. Price can trade back up in there, but now we're at an area which I want to see a little bit more. As you see, we traded above this fair value gap, and then we found resistance at this bearish order block. But we're also off of this mean threshold of this order block. So honestly, for dollar, it's. I hate that I didn't analyze dollar before I got on here because I don't want to say something that like was clearly in the charts because I haven't analyzed it. Let's see. We're traded up into this gap here. We rebalance this inefficiency. That's what price did. Rebalance this inefficiency. That's a daily redistributed rebalanced. We have failure swing put in the market now, and we have a weekly imbalance here within the market. So we have this weekly imbalance right above this low, so right below this low. So I think that dollar could likely push lower here, and it also could push higher. So very neutral. When I think it could go either way, I'm just going to wait for the market to really displace somewhere. And we've now kind of closed above this gap, so we'll kind of see. But if we're looking at this, what is it likely to do? What is dollar more likely to do? We're more likely to push lower, in my opinion. We've now been generating all of this liquidity. All of this liquidity we've been generating to reprice higher into this 4-hour gap. So now kind of looking at it, I think that dollar's more bearish. This now is generated liquidity. No clear. That's low resistance as it gets. There's multiple weekly gaps on NQ though. What do you mean? Oh yeah, we do have. All this is just one big imbalance. This is probably. Let me zoom out to the monthly. Okay, we're not creating a monthly fair value gap. This monthly candle has 6 days left. So monthly candle ends next week. So I guess we'll see what happens. Overall, bias going into the upcoming week. I want to see more what Sunday does, but I'm in an area which I'm kind of conflicted because we're at all-time highs. I don't want to fade current order flow, and I do think that we are just any move lower until we meaningfully displace on ES at least. On YM we have displaced a little bit, but I don't love to look at YM. But YM also could be showing us in tip of the sand. The market truly does want to head lower. But I think that we're likely just going to rebalance to this daily imbalance. Also, we're within consequential of this weekly imbalance. I don't think that YM's going to top like this. I don't think it is. I think YM's going to run its all-time highs again, and I think that we are going to get around all-time highs again. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Overall, this week was actually a decent week. I think that although we were in all-time highs. I think that the action was still there. Like every single day, there kind of was something. Monday we just placed higher and we took all-time highs, and then we traded back in that order block. Then that order block again. Then we get a Judas profile, and then we trade back up into that volume imbalance. Can you do a quick? Yeah, of course. Euro USD. Is there anything else I should check while we're at it? All right, I never trade Euro USD, so just keep that in mind. I'm just gonna remove all these drawings. 63. I didn't know I had that many drawings. All right, so if we look in a higher time frame perspective, what are we kind of keying off of? We're keying off of this inefficiency here. Or is it this inefficiency? We're keying off of this inefficiency. Is this like as far as it goes back? We're keying off of imbalance. So we're now in a balance, and now we kind of have had these stacked highs here. We have relative equal highs here above us on 3 months. So overall we have been coming from a lower area. If we look on Euro USD, we take it sell side. We now come back down into this order block, mean threshold. Mean threshold, look at that. Mean thresholds being respected on that order block. Now zoom in to the weekly. What else are we doing? I don't know if I love this, but now we have this order block. Down close candle is respecting price. Down close candle is respecting price. If we look at that, that's pretty bullish in my opinion. Zoom into the daily. Now what are we doing right now? We're repricing lower to this inefficiency right here. This is now an area where we could use this as an inversion. Oh, I kind of do like this delivery. I'm pretty bullish on this. This looks pretty bullish. I think we're gonna attack new highs here on Euro USD, and that would also go very nicely with the dollar delivery. I'm expecting bearish delivery here on the dollar, so bullish on Euro USD, and also bullish on indices. So I think that's gonna tip its hand. I think we are gonna play around all-time highs still. Yet once more. What do you think about the last supply level on the? I do not trade supply and demand. I don't use supply and demand. I don't even know what a supply zone is. That's just me personally. On the 1 hour, I will say this does look pretty bullish in my opinion. I think we're coming back up. We've now generated liquidity on the way lower, just like in dollar, and I'm expecting and anticipating higher prices. Where could we do that? We could chop down in this fair value gap. We did not displace this high. This is a good candidate to be traded back into, and I'm expecting bullish prices on Euro USD. Yeah, and that's kind of like the weekly. I didn't go into like every single or nitty gritty detail about the week, but yeah, overall this week you had a short setup here, pullback, volume balance. Then we melt lower. We had a long here, then we had a long in the PM session there. In terms of this day, this day. Oh, that was the day we had earnings, and we had FOMC meeting minutes at 2. So this made sense that we were consolidating for the whole AM and then PM session. We had explosive because that news profile. We also had NVIDIA earnings this day, so that's why I priced it that. This day, we have a Judah swing right down to that 1 hour PD rate. And then Monday, we had another Judah swing. So we had 3 Judah swing profiles this week. Interesting. Supply and demand works sometimes really well, but sometimes I get the same criteria. It's because the only thing that matters in the market is narrative, where we're likely heading to. Like a supply level isn't going to hold, or a fair value gap, a PD rate isn't going to hold if there isn't narrative supporting it. If there isn't narrative and drawing liquidity is like really what I focus on is the most. And people can say that I'm overcomplicating it and that you're overcomplicating it, but I mean, like, you got to take it time. You got to give it time. And that's what I'm doing. I'm giving it time. But yeah, that's all I have for today. This week was pretty clean in my opinion. I want to see how we open up Monday, and let's look in the here. I want to see if I have a tab that we could use. Let me pull up the economic calendar for the next week. See what we're anticipating. Oh, Monday. Yeah, Monday's a bank holiday. Monday's Memorial Day. So we don't trade Monday. There's no trading Monday. Wow. Monday and then Tuesday, consumer confidence. Do we have NFP? No, we don't. Next week's NFP. Okay, tomorrow. Next week's a shorter week. Dang, that kind of sucks, but yeah, next week's shorter week. So keep in mind of that. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it. Yeah, and anyways, I'm gonna be out of here. Hopefully, y'all have a good rest of your night and the good rest of your week. But yeah, we'll be back.